Hi, I'm Zena.
And I'm Ben.
And we're from Mob.
We've partnered up with New Balance and Sports Shoes to bring you the Mob Marathon menu. We've got 3 athletes in today, all training for the London Marathon, and we're going to show them how they can get some great nutrition into their diet while training.
We're going to be looking at pre-race meals, race day meals, and post-race. We're going to give you a treat. It's going to be delicious. Make sure you stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Hello. So today we are in the Mob kitchen, and I'm here with James.
Hello.
And we are going to be making a very delicious chicken congee. Have you ever had congee before?
I haven't. I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be really good. It's going to be really good. Actually, before we get into it, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're about to be doing.
My name's James. I work in insurance, and I'm running the London Marathon for New Balance and Sports Shoes.
That's amazing.
And I'm looking for a recipe basically to help fuel in the morning.
What do you normally like to eat in the morning before you run?
So I like to
race?
eat rice, but I
Good.
usually would just have a really plain batch of terrible rice, just because it fuels me and I'm not
Fair.
very creative.
Okay.
With kind of maybe a bit of a more interesting kind of recipe with rice though.
Yep.
Because I really just need that carbohydrate for the race.
Cool, well, we're ready for that. We're gonna do just that. We're gonna get we've got rice, we've got protein, and we're gonna start with the chicken.
Okay.
How do you normally cook your chicken?
The easiest way possible, just pan fry.
Pan fry?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is, we've got like a heavy bottom pan.
Okay.
I'm gonna season the chicken just with some salt. We're not gonna go any pepper for now.
Okay.
And we're actually gonna put this straight into the pan, skin side down, with no oil.
Nice.
So
Is this for one person? Or?
this is for quite a few people,
Right,
but it's one of
okay.
those that keeps really nicely. I don't know how many times a week you run, but you can sort of have this in the fridge and
One for
reheat it.
6 days a week. Yeah,
6 days a
perfect.
week, there we go, and rest day. See, I know sport, it's fine. Let's get you some tongs. We're gonna get it into the pan skin side down. So all of this skin is fat.
Yeah.
So as that goes in and we turn the heat on, it will start to basically melt and
Okay.
create its own oil, which is why we don't need to add any. And that's what we're gonna sort of use to flavor the base of our congee.
Nice.
Let's get that in there, and then I'm gonna actually get you chopping and cutting, and we're gonna move on to our aromatics.
Okay. And
So-
how long does this kind of take, this whole kind of process?
The whole process is gonna take about an hour,
Okay.
but most of it is hands off. So once we're done with the chicken, which we're gonna get on now, and we've cut up our ginger and garlic, it's
Yeah.
gonna sort of just sit there and simmer for an hour.
Brilliant.
Hands on time, like 10 minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
But then you can sort of just,
50 minutes of stretching.
there you go. 50
Before the
minutes
race.
of really good stretching before the race. See, again, we know what we're doing. Would you prefer to chop up the garlic or the ginger?
Oh, the garlic.
Garlic's all
Easier,
yours.
Slightly easier.
And then I will go with the ginger. So these are the only 2 sort of big prep moments that we have.
Where
So-
does this recipe originate from?
First of all, for if anyone that doesn't know what congee is, it's a savory rice porridge. It's the congee that we're doing is more of a Chinese style congee. You sort of basically flavor it with any aromatics. We're going with ginger and garlic to keep it quite simple. You could have it with, you keep vegetarian, you can add some chicken. We're adding chicken to ensure that you've got some protein before your run. Even though the congee that I know originated in China, lots of different Asian countries have their own variations.
Okay.
And it's basically, the principle is rice that is quote unquote overcooked, but not actually overcooked, just compared to what we know.
Yeah.
And it forms a thick porridge that is really filling and delicious. And you are putting me to shame with how fast you've done that, and all I've
Joking,
done
this
is
is the worst chopping
peel
I've
my
ever
ginger.
seen.
No, it's actually really, you're doing the thing with the knuckles, so you're not gonna cut yourself. So you wanna get this on a medium heat, and
Okay.
once you start to hear it sort of sizzle and do its thing, we're gonna turn it down to low.
Okay,
Because the lower the heat, the more the fat will render out, as
Okay.
opposed to going straight brown and burning, which
But
is
still
what we
for
don't
10
want.
minutes.
But 10-ish
Yeah.
minutes, I think.
Okay. And what makes this kind of, I guess, a good recipe for a runner like me?
Well, I'm not a runner, but I've been told that because you want something that's going to energize you for quite a long period of time. You're using a lot of energy for a long time.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things where the rice will be your sustenance. It's going to keep you going. That's your sort of engine.
Could you make this kind of the night before? You know, because I suppose sometimes the morning of a race, you don't really want to faffing around with
Fair.
bad chopping of garlic and stuff like that. You want to maybe just heat something up, or typically I might put some rice in the microwave before a race.
Yes. So you can absolutely do that. I would not expect you to wake up at like 5 in the morning. No, you can make it the night before.
Yeah.
And even so, we're making a big batch here, store it in individual portions,
Okay.
pop it in the fridge or the freezer.
Yeah.
And in the morning, just microwave it. And then you've got some nice hot rice savory porridge that is.
Would that make it better? You know, like sometimes if you let a dish rest for a long time.
Yeah, it does. I think when you, like a chili, right? The flavors intensify pre-race. Is there anything that you do to mentally prepare yourself before you're going to run? Obviously, we're talking about the physical here, but is there any secrets that you have?
I guess so. I think typically try to do nothing the day before.
Fair.
So as little as possible. So I do all of my kind of, if I'm having gels or something, I prepare all of that kind of stuff before. It's crackling.
Yeah.
Good
It's
sign.
crackling, which means we can turn that. Can you help me turn that down to low?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
So doing as little as possible, so doing all the preparation before that.
Yeah.
And then I'm a bit of a nerd, so I'll just be going over like the race profile.
Yeah.
If it's got hills, I'll be looking at all of the different hills, all the climbs, trying to familiarise myself with them. Because if I don't do that, then I might not finish the race.
Fair.
Which has happened.
First marathon? No.
My first marathon.
First marathon.
Yeah.
Okay.
First road marathon. So typically I do a lot of my stuff on trails and stuff like that.
Okay.
North Wales.
Right. Okay.
So I like the countryside and the mountains. And
Mountains, not like the lovely streets of Hoxton.
Exactly.
But it's fine.
Exactly. But apparently the atmosphere of the London Marathon is amazing, so it kind of takes the monotony out of running on the roads, for me anyway.
Fair enough. How are you feeling about it all? Are you more excited, nervous? Where's your mind at right now?
This recipe's in my mind, I'll feel a lot more confident. I'll be perfectly fueled moving forward. But yeah, I'm feeling okay at the moment. Training's been going all right.
Yeah? What does a
So,
typical
let's
week
see.
of sort of training look like for you at this stage?
5 or 6 runs.
A week?
A week, yeah. And maybe a couple of gym sessions, and maybe a bit of cross training as well.
Oh, wow.
It's quite intense.
We're basically done now. So if we have a look at our chicken,
Yep.
so do you see how like this was a fully dry pan, but now we've got like actual oil forming?
Yeah.
That's just the skin rendering out, and that's going to be a whole bunch of flavour, because I think it's going to be a very intensely chickeny dish. But you could,
I think that's good.
Right?
I think it's the flavour that's missing.
Exactly, and this is where your
so
flavour's going to be.
It's quite simple.
Simple, easy. I think there's about 5 ingredients here. And once that's sort of browned, we're going to take it out of the pan. We're going to add our garlic and our ginger, stir fry it up.
Into the pan without the chicken.
Into the pan without the chicken.
Yeah.
Then we're going to add the rice.
Okay.
Our stock, and then just pop a lid on it with the chicken back in, and
That's it.
that's it. That's
Do
it.
we wash the rice?
We do actually. Let's do that now while this goes.
Why do we wash the rice if it's a soupy dish?
We wash the rice because it's a soupy dish and it gets its soupiness from the starch.
Right.
But you don't want there to be too much starch. And the reason is that when there's too much, it's going to get really stodgy really quickly and quite dense. Time will naturally release the right amount of starch into the congee to make it nice and thick. Whereas if we don't wash it, there's almost too much starch to begin with. So by the time you get to the texture you want, it's too starchy and it's like thick and kind of gross.
Gotcha.
A lot of supermarket rice brands tell you that you don't need to. But like if you look at this here, I just put water in it and it's like super, super cloudy.
Yeah.
So if you ever see a recipe that says wash it until it's clear, I'll show you what that means. But all of this here is starch. So I'm gonna wash this a few times. And Seema actually, who was a mob chef as well, taught me this. You sort of put your hand in like a claw formation.
Okay.
And what you're doing is you're agitating the grains, and as you do, the sort of starch that's on the outside of the grains is coming off. And the starch within it still remains, and that's what's going to thicken up the congee.
Normally I just put the rice in a sieve.
In a sieve and just, oh yeah, no, you want to wash it.
Right.
Wash it.
That's why I'm here.
That's so, yeah, exactly. We're going to do this, I think, maybe 3 or 4 times. You can already see, it doesn't have to be clear as sort of the water that's coming out this tap. But once you put your hand in it, you want to be able to still see it. So it's still quite cloudy. Do you want to have a feel? Do you want to have a spider wash?
Quite therapeutic.
It is, I think so.
Quite nice.
I think a lot of food cooking is therapeutic, but that's also why I do what I do.
Yeah.
Do you find running therapeutic? Like long,
Yeah, very
long.
much so. Yeah.
Do you even so through the pain, through the whatever? It's.
Well, yeah. I mean, most of the running I do is probably 80% is at a really easy pace.
Okay.
You know, where you're supposed to be able to hold a conversation that kind of level, so it's really
Oh wow.
relaxed.
Okay, nice. Do you listen to music or you're a podcaster?
I
You
listen
do.
to music, yeah.
What kind?
A lot of techno.
Intense. Okay.
Intense
I can like
music.
picture you
Just
running
the-
through the calm hills of North Wales, but with like
Exactly.
aggressive techno.
If there's a low like beats per minute, I'll run slowly. I think so. I need sort of.
So you need something to. I'm with you. Okay, so I think we're at the stage now. So if I put this last bit of water here, compared to where we were before. It's a lot clearer.
Yeah, amazing.
I put my hand in it, I can see it, so that's how I know that we are at a good place. You're about to ask something and I
was just going to ask, is the chicken ready?
I think so, let's have a look. We want it to be golden brown and we want there to be enough oil in the bottom of the pan. So we're getting there. You can sort of see how it's browning on the sides.
Yeah.
And chicken will kind of do a really cool thing, or any meat with enough fat content. It will almost tell you when it's done to flip. So you see now if I try and flip it, it's kind of releasing, but there's still a little bit of tension.
Good tip, yeah.
When it's ready to flip, i.e. when it's browned, it will be a lot easier. So I think we've got another 2 minutes and then we're good to go. So we can use that 2 minutes to make up our stock.
Obviously that depends on having a good pan, right?
The quality of the pan helps, but also I think it's actually like a scientific thing. So once if you picture the pan, chicken skin, chicken on top, as the fat is rendering out, you're basically creating like a layer of oil between the chicken and the pan. And once you've got enough of that, it sort of just comes out.
Right.
I'm not a scientist, guys, but it's kind of the basic principle of how that works.
Okay.
So let's do the stock now.
Okay, cool.
So you could use any stock cube. I'm using, this is chicken stock powder that you can find in most Asian supermarkets, also in the world food aisle of your supermarket. And the reason I'm using this is that in Chinese cooking or Asian cooking, they use different aromatics than we might. So like the stock cubes you might get at the supermarket here, you'll have, let's say, onion, carrot, rosemary, thyme, which is delicious. But when I'm building something that has garlic and ginger, those aren't the flavors that I'm looking for. Okay, so something like a chicken stock powder that I'll get from my Asian supermarket will lean better. So both work, but it's just a nice tip. So I'm gonna pour this into here. Then we're gonna top it up with a litre of water, only because this only takes a litre, but we're gonna be using 2.
Okay.
I'm using cold water here. It doesn't matter if it doesn't fully dissolve, because once we get it into the pan, it'll be fine.
Oh, right, okay, fine. No boiling the kettle.
So I'm gonna leave that with you and a fork so you can sort of like mix and stir.
Good.
And
useful.
make yourself. You've been very useful thus far, so it's all good. How do your eating habits pre like a big race versus in general, how do they differ, if any?
They do differ. I mean, less drinking, probably fewer visits to like Nando's or something like that.
Yeah.
Like cut that out. But yeah, right, as it gets closer, I guess it's just having more like white carbs.
Fair.
Like rice.
Like
basically,
rice.
Focusing on that, maybe potatoes or something like that. But just trying to eat healthily.
So, chicken is ready. You want to see, so you see how we've got a nice amount of oil now in the pan.
Yep.
And we've also got these little brown bits.
Yeah.
All of that is flavor, so that's good.
Beautiful.
I am gonna get a tray so we can transfer that out and get our aromatics frying. Let's take this guy. So you see how we got a really nice brown skin?
Yeah.
That's the level of color that you're looking for. You don't want to rush it, take your time, because all the flavor is now in there without any of that sort of burnt taste.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna take that out. Don't taste it at this point, like this is fully raw. It's just we've developed the flavor base for our soup.
Chicken.
Very rare chicken, and we don't love rare chicken.
What do you put in first, the stock, or do you put?
So we're gonna put the garlic and ginger in first.
Okay.
So I'm gonna leave that to you to do if you wanna.
Okay.
You can even use the big guy and sort of just like
big one, yeah. Scoop it on.
Scoop it on.
Like a pro.
Like a pro, like the pro that you are. And that's gonna sizzle immediately. And then we're gonna get the garlic in there as well. And while you do, I'm gonna get us a wooden spoon from over here. Garlic's one of those things that burns on you really quickly. So we're just gonna stir fry this for literally a minute.
Yeah.
There's enough residual fat in there that we don't need any extra oil. And immediately you can smell that. The flavors are erupting.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Then all we're gonna do is get the stock in, the rice, and then that's it. We're gonna let it bubble in. So I'll let you put that in there.
Really, it's quite simple, then, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Up to you. Nice.
Thanks.
That wasn't meant to be
Brilliant stuff for
patronising.
me, yeah. It's a great pour.
Great pour. Actually, do you mind filling that up again with one more litre? We're gonna get 2 litres in there, and then we're gonna scrape the bottom of the pan, because all those brown bits, we wanna actually incorporate them into the stock.
Okay.
So we're gonna mix that in, and then once we've got the extra water, and we've got the rice, we're gonna nestle the chicken back in, bring it up to a boil, and then once it's there, heat goes down, go for it. And we let it go for about an hour.
How's this pour? Not as good as the
Not as good as the first one. The other one had height on it. That was like but you know.
Gutted.
They can't all be the best pours ever.
Great.
They can't all be great. And then rice goes in. It doesn't look like a lot of rice, but rice is one of those things, kind of like pasta. It expands a lot.
It's really hard to get it right, actually. You always go too much, I think.
Too much, yeah. But I quite like having leftover rice.
Yeah.
Or leftover anything.
Yeah.
So at this point, we're gonna bring the heat back up.
Do you mix it? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you wanna, actually, I've scraped up most of it, but if you wanna scrape the bottom and get all of that flavor up in there, the more flavor, the better. And so we're gonna bring this up to a boil. And what's gonna happen is, as it's quite aggressively boiling, the rice grains are gonna like bubble up and almost dance. And that's already starting the breaking up of the sort of rice cells. So they get nice and porridgey.
So
and once
starch comes out.
Exactly. You're releasing all of that inner starch because we've already taken out all the outer starch. And once that happens, these are just gonna go plop back in there, cover, and we're good to go.
So what's the chicken like? Like when this is finished after an hour, what comes of the chicken? Is the skin kind of?
By that point, the skin has served its purpose. I'm of the opinion, and tell me if you agree, crispy chicken skin is great. Soggy chicken skin isn't.
For me.
No,
Not for me, yeah.
right? So it served its purpose as far as giving flavor. So it's gonna go back in there. But when we come to shredding the chicken at the end, we're actually gonna discard the skin.
Okay, cool.
If you fancy eating it,
no.
sure.
But not on its own.
Again, if there's anyone out there and you like limp, soggy chicken skin, we love and respect you too. It's fine. But I wouldn't eat it. Okay. So we're just gonna shred the flesh, and we're gonna get rid of the skin and the bones.
Yeah, brilliant.
Okay, so the rice is now aggressively bubbling. The grains are sort of breaking apart, and that's all the starch is being released. So we can get the chicken back in there, and then we're gonna simmer it for an hour. So as far as your marathon, do you have any goals? Like, what are you trying to do? Are you just trying to finish, or do you have specific goals in mind?
Yeah, I suppose I'm quite competitive with myself. I also, actually, the guy who kind of got me into running, he's done a 2:52 marathon, so I'd like to beat him. Just to kind of be like, you know.
Friendly competition.
Yeah, to be like, karate kid,
2:52.
take over the momentum, that, you know.
Okay, chicken's in. Gonna get the lid on, and we're gonna simmer that for half an hour.
Okay.
Then we're gonna take the chicken out so it doesn't overcook.
Right.
And then we're gonna shred that, and that's gonna go for another half an hour. So an hour total for the rice, half an hour for the chicken.
Awesome.
So let me get the lid.
Very good.
Okay, so it's been half an hour. We're gonna take the chicken out and let the rice continue to cook. In theory, you could leave the chicken in there. It's dark meat, it will survive it, but it'll be more juicy and more succulent if you take it out. So we're gonna fish these out and shred them.
Okay.
Like we said earlier, if you love chicken skin, keep it. But just, I mean, you can see the texture here. It's pretty limp.
So you wouldn't shred it and put it back in for the rest of the time? You'd shred it, leave it out?
Shred it and leave it out, and then the residual heat will heat it through. Okay. Again, it's up to personal preference, but you can kind of see the texture here. This is very soft. So as far as I'm concerned, this has served its purpose. You can get rid of it.
Not for me, that.
But if you want to throw it back in there, it's still flavor. It's just wet, soggy flavor. Which
But you've taken the flavour out.
It's all rendered out into here. So we're gonna fish these out, and then you and I are both gonna grab some forks, and we're just gonna get to shredding.
Brilliant.
These are gonna be your guys. Fair.
Word of advice.
Good to know. No. Okay. So you don't have to be precious here. You just wanna make sure that you've gotten rid of the skin, which we're gonna leave aside, and the bones, of course, because you wanna sort of eat this like a soup, and you don't want like a crunchy surprise.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's been about an hour now. We took the chicken out at the half an hour mark, shredded it, and now the congee is ready. So this is what the rice looks like now. It is very thick, which is why we rinsed out lots of the starch at the beginning, because
Loopy.
otherwise, loopy, but in like the good way, the porridgey kind of way. We've got the ginger and the garlic. So at this point, we're gonna sort of assemble it together.
Okay.
Would you mind actually slicing up those spring onions for us? And then we will have you taste it.
How thick would it have been if we hadn't cleaned the rice?
If we hadn't cleaned the
It would have
rice,
just been like a solid block.
it would have been like a, I think polenta sort of just like sat there. You'd have had to compensate with a lot more water, which in turn would have diluted the flavors. The recipe as it is works really well as long as you wash your rice. So make sure that you take the time to wash your rice.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got our chicken that we shredded earlier. Again, if you love soggy chicken skin, by all means keep it in. We took it out. So I'm gonna put most of it back into the rice now, and then we're gonna save a little bit for the top.
Okay. Does it matter how you put it in, or is it
Actually, yeah.
just talk, you know,
Just
like talking to your houseplants? It kind of changes the...
it changes the vibes.
How much do you want of this much?
I think that's about enough, yeah.
Okay.
And then we're just gonna stir that in. The residual heat will heat that through. And to be honest, you could have left the chicken in for the whole hour. We're using dark meat here, so it's very forgiving.
Yeah.
If you wanted to make this leaner, you could use chicken breast. If you can find skin on chicken breast, even better. But I recommend using dark meat. Bowl here. How much do you want? Do you want a little taster or a full?
I want a lot of it, really.
Okay,
Yeah,
good. Let you do the honors.
I'll do it. It's like a full portion.
It is. It's bigger than the bowl, basically. There you
Great.
go. So now you can top it with a little bit more chicken, some spring onions.
It's like that, yeah.
There you go.
And you can put the price up by 100 times.
And then we'll get your spoon and you can try it.
Exciting. Here we go.
I feel like I'm putting way too much pressure on you by saying,
Yeah, it's quite
hey, I'm gonna
tense.
look
It's like
that way for a little bit.
It's like eating food on a first day or something.
Right.
It's a bit awkward. That's
Yeah?
beautiful. Yeah. Spot on.
Nice. And he's not just saying that.
Nice, unreal.
Good, I'm glad.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
So here we have it, guys. This is our chicken congee, perfect pre-race meal. We hope you've loved this. We hope you try it. The recipe will be linked in the description box. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, and make sure that you download the full Mob Marathon menu because it's full of delicious dishes. Enjoy.